Guilt is the only weight that gets heavier the longer you carry it, and most of us have been dragging around something we never even agreed to pick up. Today we're cracking open the thing nobody wants to talk about, the guilt that quietly runs your life from the background like malware you forgot to delete. Here's the wild part, most guilt isn't even yours to begin with. It was handed to you by a parent, a religion, a relationship, a version of yourself that was just trying to survive. Think of guilt like a browser with 200 tabs open. You're not reading any of them, but your whole system is slowing down because of them. The catalyst for carrying it is usually some moment where you either did something wrong, failed to do something right, or, and this is the sneaky one, simply existed in a way that disappointed someone else. We love to romanticize guilt as proof of a conscience, as if suffering more makes you a better person, but that's the biggest lie the emotion ever told. The research is actually pretty clear. Chronic guilt doesn't make you more ethical. It makes you more anxious, more avoidant, and ironically, less likely to make amends. There was a version of me, maybe you know this version too, who apologized constantly, not because I was wrong, but because the silence felt dangerous. That hypervigilance, that fawning, that preemptive self-punishment is guilt wearing a disguise and calling itself humility. Therapy was the first mirror I stepped in front of that didn't lie to me. And I won't pretend it was comfortable. It felt like someone turning the lights on in a room you'd been living in the dark for years. My therapist introduced me to a concept that sounds almost embarrassingly simple. Distinguishing between guilt for what you times did times versus shame for who you times are. And that distinction alone started dismantling walls I built in my early 20s. Then came the apologies, real ones, not the "I'm sorry you felt that way" corporate non-apologies. We've all been served at some point. Writing those letters, making those calls, sitting in the discomfort of someone else's reaction without trying to immediately fix or minimize it, that was the operational work, the actual reps. There's a ritual practice that sounds almost absurd until you try it. Writing down the guilt, naming it specifically, and then physically burning or destroying the paper, not as magic, but as a signal to your nervous system that the chapter is closing. Cultures across thousands of years have used ceremony to mark transitions, and your brain, wired for narrative, actually responds to symbolic closure in measurable ways. Now here's where people get this wrong. They think release means forgetting, or that progress means you never feel guilty again. Progress looks more like the guilt showing up, you noticing it without being hijacked by it, and returning to baseline faster each time. Like a wave that still comes in, but no longer floods the whole house. The historical pattern is almost darkly funny. Human beings have been performing elaborate guilt rituals since before written language. Confession booths, scapegoat sacrifices, public self-flagellation, and yet here we are in the 21st century, still mostly just ruminating alone in the shower. What changes across every era and tradition is the method, but the underlying need to release, repair, and reintegrate stays constant. A common misconception is that releasing guilt means you're letting yourself off the hook, that it's selfish, that the people you hurt somehow deserve your ongoing suffering as payment. But no one is actually made whole by your continued self-punishment repair. Comes from changed behavior, from presence, from accountability, lived forward, not backward. The practical lesson, borrowed from both therapy and ironically from risk management and investing, is that you don't go all in on one emotional position. You size your self-compassion the same way you'd size a trade, incrementally, with evidence, adjusting as new information comes in. Discipline here means showing up to the process even on the days it feels pointless, even when the guilt rushes back after a week of progress, because consistency beats intensity every single time. At the philosophical level, guilt released isn't innocence reclaimed, it's maturity earned. The difference between a person who mistakes feeling bad for being bad and one who uses discomfort as data, discipline, honest sizing of your actual responsibility, and consistent return to your values will carry you further than any single breakthrough moment ever could. And if you never get a clean resolution, if the person you hurt won't respond, if the wound stays open on both sides, you can still be okay because your peace was never actually theirs to grant. If you like this video, subscribe and check out all our other topics.